The trans movement continues to implode by Sidney Watson. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's go.
And I'm proud.
I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
A toddler was suspended from a nursery after they were accused of being transphobic.
We must go into the toilets in numbers and say, we are here, we are queer.
Where I saw at the end of my row a biological male watching not only myself, but the other young women undress.
I was removed from my varsity girls team and replaced by a newly eligible male transfer student.
This is show off horror.
Who impersonated a high schooler was sentenced to jail today.
Oh my god, it's day 1096 of being a girl. It's year 3 and that's me on a billboard in Times Square.
Get out of my face now!
I was misgendered. Even when I complained, saying, look, I am not a man.
Mom, come pick me up. I'm scared.
They...
I'm Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Lumen and by my company, Lions Tea Exchange. The spring/summer flavors are finally available on the website right now for pre-sale. I actually asked a handful of
what a pretty
customers to taste test these blends, so a big thank you to all of you for your input. We have root beer, which everyone seemed to love, which actually kind of surprised me, but it genuinely tastes like root beer. We have white peach, strawberry lemonade, this one is actually my personal favorite, and mango black, which one of my lovely taste testers said is the best black tea that he's ever had, so that's honestly really epic. Anyway, go and check them out. I will link everything in the description box, and as usual, thank you so much for all the support. It means the world. So towards the end of February, I talked about the collapse of the transgender movement and all of the moving parts that led us to this point. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest going and doing so because it kind of sets the stage for this video. But since making that piece of content, so many things have happened and the explosion of this movement has only accelerated and gotten bigger. And over the last 2 months or so, I have saved so many things that I wanted to show you all that just illustrates how rapidly all of this is declining.
Probably heard about this Supreme Court's ruling on the definition of the word woman.
Well, this looks like decline for
serious
sure.
Implications.
This have the face of decline.
But I want to tell you one thing. They can make their laws. They can specify their definitions. But there's one thing that they'll never be able to take from me. And that's who I am. I'm a trans woman and I'm proud. A toddler was suspended from a nursery after they were accused of being transphobic or homophobic. I just...
How is that possible? How... Oh my god. Oh my god. This is this serious? Is this really serious? For real? Oh god. Wait. I'm kind of reminded. I'm kind of remembering that. I think I've seen that somewhere. I just don't remember exactly what happened, but I think I've seen something like this elsewhere. I just don't remember. But this ain't new for me. But yeah, it's still so. Oh my god! How is this possible? What's going on? How real adults in a society can look at this, can look at a toddler and say, I guess this toddler is being transphobic and kick him out of the nursery. How the problem is not with that? I'm not sure even if I still should call it a human being. I don't know what it is for real. She's their own devil on earth, to say the least, for the lack of other words, or I don't know. A creature that is shaped in human form, but it's not a human. I have no idea. It is impossible that this that this is a real human being doing this. This is impossible. Okay, this is... I'm not trying to be sensationalist or anything like that. It's just, I'm really shocked that these things happen. I mean, when you think that you've seen a lot of horrible stuff, that nothing can surprise you anymore, there is always something worse and worse appearing to surprise you. And to where this is going, to where this is leading us, if there's always something more horrible and more evil happening, and more stupid happening, where this is leading us to the future, huh? What else do you expect to see in the next... I will not even say 5 years, in the next year? What else are we gonna see up to there? This is really strange. This is really... We really need to reach a break point. A break point to return things to normal, because this really makes us lose faith in humanity. Things like this really tears a piece of my soul off, for real. I don't know about you guys. I've been totally honest here. Totally honest.
Believe this. The Department of Education data revealed the child is either 3 or 4 years old. A Department of Education spokesman said all pupils and staff should feel safe.
Barely 4 years old.
Should feel safe and protected at school.
As I previously mentioned, the transgender movement and its weird conjoined cousin sister, the gender ideology movement, have basically both gotten their creepy little tentacles around every single institution, whether it be political, social, or even medical. And it's basically created an environment where everyday normal people are being forced to conform to a worldview that they don't even agree with. We have definitely learned over the last decade or so that absolutely nothing is safe. Not women, not our spaces, not the language surrounding us, and sadly, and maybe even the worst of all of this, definitely not kids. So having previously laid out how we got here, I wanted to spend some time showing you some of the pushback that we are now seeing, both big and small. Because it is all culminating in the explosion of a movement that probably should have stayed on Tumblr. So let's start with the biggest, most recent, and most obvious thing. In mid-April 2025, the UK Supreme Court made a definitive ruling that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act refer only to biological women and to biological sex, not gender ideology or gender recognition certificates. This was decided unanimously by 5 judges.
We were in a really difficult place in Scotland then. We thought we were going to see rights for women rolled back, and today the judges have said what we always believed to be the case, that women are protected by their biological sex, that sex is real, and that women can now feel safe that services and spaces designated for women are for women, and we are enormously grateful to the Supreme Court for this ruling.
I am genuinely so happy that women in the UK are finally seeing themselves supported. But you know, it isn't only women who need support. Your buddy does as well, which is why today's video is sponsored by Lumen. Is your sleep kind of terrible? Yes, it is. How did you know? Because you look awful. Hey, do you ever find yourself wondering why you can't lose weight? Or do you just sometimes feel kind of run down for no reason? What if I told you there was a way you could improve your quality of life and better understand your body? Well, there is, and it's called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. This device measures your metabolism through your breath, and using the app, it tells you if you're burning fat or carbs, and then offers tailored guidance so you can improve your sleep, nutrition, workouts. It even tailors advice around menopause and hormonal shifts for the...
Okay, I have to say this. I had no idea that this thing actually exists. I'm saying this serious. In my culture at least, no one talks about this. No one talks. I had no idea that this thing actually exists. For real. Oh my god. This looks incredible. I mean, I've seen a lot of things, a lot of products. This is not the first one that I really don't find it here. And I have to import and pay just a huge absurd amount of money to have the same product here, and it's just it's just not worth it. So we just cannot have this stuff here, and this seems to be one of them. At least I still not up to today aware of the existence of this product. It seems really amazing. I mean, I don't know if you wanna have a healthy life. I mean, it can tell us if you're burning fat or calories. This is very useful for people who try to lose the weight or gain some muscles. This looks... what else
In the morning,
does?
you just breathe into your lumen, and it shows what's going on with your metabolism. Then, it gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your reading. But you can really use your device anytime you want. Before meals, before or after workouts.
What the
Personally,
heck?
I genuinely love this
Oh my
little thing.
God.
I like the daily task.
Hey, I wanna ask you to my audience, if any of you have these products, let me know how accurate this is. This seems to be really something amazing. Like, you know exactly how much you need to eat of any nutrient. This seems really
That
awesome.
it gives me, like deep breathing, for example. I find the meal plans really helpful, and while it obviously is not a quick fix, it definitely helps me understand what's going on internally, which I think is incredibly cool. So if you too want to take control of your life and your health, then click the link in the description or go to lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your lumen. Once again, that's lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your purchase. This ruling obviously has a ton of implications, the biggest being that trans-identified males can now legally be excluded from female-only spaces. This is obviously a massive change from the absolute mess that we saw only last year, when an Australian federal court judge ruled that a female-only app called Giggle discriminated against a trans-identified male called Roxy Tickle by not allowing Tickle to join the app, the said app. The judge in the case literally stated, in its contemporary ordinary meaning, sex is changeable. No, sir. No, it is not. It really does go to show that so much changes in such a short space of time.
My God.
At least
Oh my
British
God.
women are in fact considered women again. Aussies, not so lucky. Anyway, after the UK Supreme Court ruling, things definitely moved quite rapidly. We had absolutely stellar headlines like this. Rapists can no longer claim to be women. Well, that's a comfort, isn't it? I know on the surface this seems really dumb.
Oh my God, I still think it's absurd. I know we need to push back and to things like they are doing. This is really amazing. This is. But also, doesn't this look stupid at the same time that we need to keep telling people what should be common sense all over again because people just seems like aliens or zombies from Walking Dead? I don't know.
Like a
I don't
return
know.
to common sense, but unironically, this is a good thing, given how crime statistics have been skewed, given how many men commit crimes and then say that they're women after committing the crime. I'm sorry that it's a thing, but it is. Just another symptom of how icky everything is. It'll also hopefully stop all of these stupid headlines that erroneously report that a woman committed a crime when that woman did, in fact, have some of the dingle-dangles.
27-year-old woman who impersonated a high schooler was sentenced to jail today.
Prosecutors say on December 12th, Craig emailed the Albany School District and claimed her name was instead Madison, that she was 15 and homeless, and planned to enroll herself into the district.
This is not a female, in case that wasn't clear. Do you guys ever sometimes listen to the news where they're
No, Sydney, thank you for informing me. That wasn't clear at all.
to a male as she and just think,
Is anybody else seeing this shit right now? Have I stepped into a parallel fucking universe or something?
We then had a bunch of females who identify as men making vaguely threatening TikToks saying that they'd be going into women's bathrooms and making women feel uncomfortable. We of course had an onslaught of crying TikToks too. And this video where this person basically wrote a love letter to using the women's bathroom.
I love the women's bathroom. I love taking a break on a night out to spend 20 minutes in the toilets talking to girls I don't know. The tiled walls feel like momentary protection from the outside world. An equal playing field for women of all heights, weights, ethnicities, and religions.
Dude, we're just trying to pee and not make eye contact with each other as we leave the bathroom.
Oh my god. Wait, I think... Oh my god, my memory is really failing me. I think I've seen that video too. That short. I don't know. What's going on with my memory?
My entire life, and I have never
It's my
experienced this
ADHD
perverse
problem.
fascination with the bathroom. I hate the lines. I hate having to wait, and I hate the fact that usually there's like 3 cubicles and only 1 toilet actually works. But sure, go off, King. Then there were, of course, the protests, where the usual suspects demanded access to women's spaces.
We must take back the streets. March every single day. Stand outside the government,
you do.
Oh my
You could do so.
Hi everyone, I am a
What
very
the hell
proud
is that?
disabled trans woman, even though it doesn't look like it. I was misgendered, and they said they had to misgender me. Even when I complained, saying, look, I am not a man, they continued to misgender me.
I am not gonna go there. I will not tempt the YouTube gods, but I think that The Office has me covered on this one.
I'm gonna kill myself! Wow. I'm going to kill myself, and it's your fault!
We had trans activists losing it on live television.
The Office
This
is so
individual,
good.
who is, yes, of course, a they, them.
I really I watched many seasons of The Officer, but I couldn't stand after they took off the Michael character. I just couldn't.
After saying, I feel unsafe because on a previous episode, the host had made comments this person didn't like.
I would rather share a bathroom with 100 trans women than one legal biological woman who wants to know what's inside my pants. And Julia, if I'm right in remembering, you did ask me what my genitals look like once live on TV.
I think that was in the context of a conversation and you raised that issue yourself.
I remember the quote. You don't have dangly bits, do you? So do you want to discuss dangly bits or not? Because frankly, I am now feeling in a position where I'm in a room with you and I feel unsafe. Yeah.
You feel unsafe?
I feel unsafe. I feel my heart racing. My hands are starting to sweat. Do you want to touch my hand? Would you want to clammy now? And I actually think I'm about to have a panic attack from sitting in a room with...
Oh no, the safe space babbling again. Oh no, this is... They use this as a weapon. Oh god. I would not say this again. I always say stuff like this all the time. You guys already know what I was gonna say. It's but it's... Come on, I just can't... Oh my god, I just can't handle listen to this anymore. To this BS of safe space.
So I'd like to leave now. Yeah. Said my piece, and now I'd really like to go.
I thought you actually plugged into a mic there. I thought we were going to have a conversation.
I'd like to go.
The safe space babbling is just the excuse that they use, that not just because they want to use to the others, but they use themselves inside their little strange brains to shape their reality, to shape the entire reality in their environment. Because or you fit that reality, or they exclude themselves, or do whatever strange thing you can imagine in the environment that they are settled in. This, I will not discourse more about this. I will just don't point. Let's see what else we have
I
here.
wouldn't want anyone to feel unsafe being asked questions.
So the monumental
I wanna
freak
laugh.
out with
I wanna
relation to
laugh,
this
not
newest
be
ruling
angry.
has, of course, done absolutely nothing to help the trans movement. And
Bring me
its
fun
weird
stuff,
conjoined
CD.
sister cousin, the gender ideology movement. It hasn't pushed anyone further towards the movement/ideology, and it hasn't helped anybody empathize. The threats, the tantrums, the individuals continually insisting that they should have access to female spaces and likeness has only pushed other people further away. And it's really emblematic of what's happening all over the place because, like I mentioned in the last video that I made about this, people have really had enough. Some of you might remember all the times I've told you about the politicians betraying
hope
us
so.
in order
I hope
to
they
appear
did.
more progressive and tolerant, quickly adopting dehumanizing language about women, supporting insane practices and policies that
Progressive.
hurt women, and some of these politicians are continuing to do this, continuing to push all of this insanity today. But it has really been fascinating to watch just
a
how many
huge
them
amount of
have suddenly
bacchus.
flipped the script on the trans movement and gender ideology when they realized that this entire thing was falling massively out of favor. It's almost like they do things in order to get reelected and don't stand for anything ever.
Wow.
Oh, don't
Wow.
tell
In the
me.
UK's
Oh,
case, when
don't
England's
tell
Prime
me.
Minister Keir
Who
Starmer,
could
which
imagine
I feel
that?
like I'm saying incorrectly.
You're saying it right.
Starmer?
Keir Starmer.
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 Starmer. In the UK's case, when England's Prime Minister Keir
Starmer.
Starmer was asked if he still believed transgender women are women, he answered that the Supreme Court has been clear that women are adult human females, and he welcomed the judgment.
Do you believe a trans woman is a woman?
Look, I think the Supreme Court has answered that question.
So you
and
don't
I
believe
think
a trans woman is a woman?
Look, a woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say.
As a surprise to probably none of you, only a few short years ago, Starmer insisted trans-identified males are women if they believe themselves to be.
Yeah.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
This closely mirrors what we saw and continue to see here in the United States after Trump's executive orders were signed. Those that banned men from women's sports, trans surgeries on minors, and defined sex as binary, male and female. In early March, for example, Gavin Newsom, arguably one of the most progressive Democratic politicians, said during a discussion on his podcast that men in women's sports is unfair.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate,
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we?
This is so disgusting. I'm sorry, but this is so disgusting. He just don't want to lose the opportunity to win the election. So he's saying that it's unfair just because of that, because they clearly see at this point, I mean, and Trump's election proved that people are so tired of this. But it's not like they are tired of this. It's just that they don't think they can win more votes, more voters, more supporters if they keep doing shit like this. So that they are trying to be like water, you know, like so they can perfectly stream down the river and etc. I mean, they are trying to grab some voters, like saying that they don't approve men in women's sports, but at the same time you see that he's taking all the care with those safe space bubble, guys. Just know what I mean.
I always find these types of comments so interesting because they love to talk about empathy, except they never apply that same empathy to the women who are asking to have single-sex spaces. Be empathetic, Jessica. Look at the testicles. Ball sacks are the new boobs, Linda. Get used to it.
I can feel it in my scrot.
Is scrotum less offensive sounding than ball sack? I apologize. I apologize for being crude. Anyway, seemingly only a few days later, former Montana Senator, that's hard to say quickly, John Tester made similar comments on Bill Maher's show. He essentially stated that men don't belong in women's sports, despite his voting record demonstrating exactly the opposite. Ain't that always the way?
In that statement, Gavin Newsom was 100% correct. We're talking about a
It's
very,
so
very,
late for
very
you guys. The masses are stupid, but come on, they are not that much.
small number
They
of
are
people who,
not that
by the way,
much.
men shouldn't be playing in women's sports. It's a bunch of crap.
Oh, another Democrat saying it.
In Newsom's case, he was obviously attacked by the super progressives in his own party, but a handful of Democrats came out to support him, surprisingly. Namely, Seth Moulton, who had actually said on a number of previous occasions how unfair it is having men compete against women in sport.
I will say this again, because you guys should never forget, they are not doing this. They are not doing this. I think it's necessary to repeat this. They are not doing this because they don't agree with all this BS, okay? They are doing this because so they can win and be reelected again and again and again and be there inside the system, okay? That's why they are saying this. Those guys were actually the ones pushing all of this BS all the time for all these years. If you guys remember, well, those I know there are a lot of smart guys here in my community, so you guys can remember very well the beginning of all of this was always for big companies and politicians and government always pushing this top to bottom. So you cannot trust them when they say stupid shit like this because they don't believe that themselves. Okay? They are just trying to... They are just looking at all of this and thinking, well, this is not gonna help us anymore. We need to do something about it. Okay, let's bring back some small doses of common sense so we can be re-elected and push back all of this BS over and over again when you already said that, and more USAID money and more whatever it is again, and push back with even more strange all of this over us again. And I'm not saying they'd stop it. You can see that all over the world. This is still so strange at all cost. They're not stopping. They are not stopping. They never will. Okay.
In an interview about Newsom's comments, Moulton said more and more are willing to say what they've probably always thought, and that's a good thing. So it seems to me that some politicians are realizing, finally, that they're on the wrong side of this issue. Although, depressingly, that hasn't stopped the rest of them from voting no to keeping men out of women's sports, so thank you for that. If you guys want to have a laugh about this, the stupidity here is to the extent that former CNN host Chris Cuomo, of all people, is begging these politicians to pick another hill to die on because even the majority of Democratic voters, don't support this. So as per usual, do with that information what you will. So putting aside those on the progressive side of the aisle for a moment, I am noticing that more and more right-leaning politicians are also starting to act out. One clip I found that I wanted to show you all was a moment from a recent hearing where Texas Representative Keith Self, that's a good name, referred to a trans-identified male serving in government as Mr. McBride.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, it's a
We have set the standard on the floor of the House.
Now, I already know that some of you are going to find this needlessly cruel, and honestly, I can objectively understand that position. I have heard many a person argue that this type of behavior erodes overall societal decency. And while I know that most politicians are doing these sort of things performatively, both on the left and the right, don't judge me for saying this, but seeing this sort of thing play out actually feels a little cathartic. And the reason I say that is because I am a woman. I have lived my entire life as a woman. I am the daughter of a woman, and I don't believe that some person, any person, gets to put on a dress and a bit of lipstick and makeup and then demand that everybody around them treats them as a woman when they are not one. Again, being a woman is not a feeling. It is not superficial things like long hair and makeup and dresses and high heels. It is something that is coded into every single cell in our bodies. And as much as modern society wants to tell us otherwise, if you are not female, if you are not born female, you do not know what that is like. The people who claim to know and relate to all of this and understand what it is have simply never had to go through the unique challenges associated with being a woman, especially those that are associated with, I don't know, having female anatomy. So I find myself exhausted by all of the pretending, especially when we're doing it at very, very high government
Everyone,
levels.
yes,
So while I
everyone.
absolutely understand those of you who do not like this behavior and do not think it should take place, I would counter that by saying that people like the Representative McBride that we've been discussing here are participating in a movement that has actively and needlessly hurt women and girls. And I know I'm not alone in feeling this way, because every time I turn around, I see a new story about women pushing back or politicians starting to change their tune. Of course, there are politicians in Western countries particularly who cling to all of this, reading transgender children's books, fighting to change the word mother to inseminated person in legislation. That last one
Oh my
is
god.
particularly asinine.
Oh my god.
Who even thought of
I'm
that?
so tired
Seriously,
of this,
how
for real. I think this is the major feeling in society right now about all of this stuff. We are tired. We are so tired of all of this. This is annoying, this is disturbing, this is disgusting, this is tiresome. Oh my god, it's a living war every day. Can we still call it Cold War? I don't know. I don't know, it's... I don't know, Let's just keep going.
Hate your own mum to think of the term inseminated person and then provide that, put that forward in legislation. Like, I've heard of mummy issues, but this is taking it to a whole new level. But with all of that said, I think that these moments actually represent the death rattle of this movement. Because what these politicians and these activists and allies and so on don't seem to understand is that the more that they push this type of thing onto the rest of us, the more that they act performatively about this entire issue, the less and less support that they have, the more and more that people turn away, and the angrier and angrier that normal people get. And it shows. We have more and more women every month saying no to men in female sports and female spaces, whether it is women who refuse to participate and compete against trans-identified competitors, or young women speaking out at school board meetings.
Recently, I went into the women's locker room to change for track practice, where I saw at the end of my row a biological male watching not only myself, but the other young women undress. This experience was beyond traumatizing. I must add, he is not changing in our locker room, because he's in his track clothes dressed and ready to go to practice at the beginning of the day.
I was removed from my varsity girls team and replaced by a newly eligible male transfer student who received favorable treatment. In late October, the male transfer student was given my spot after not being held to the same strict team requirements as me and the rest of the girls. He did not have to attend practice while my team and I were running 7 miles a day together. After having my spot taken away from me that I earned, I missed out on running with my varsity team in one of the top cross-country invitationals of the season.
A child psychiatrist called Alan Josephson very recently won a $1.6 million settlement from the University of Louisville, I'm sure you guys are gonna yell at me in the comments for that, after the institution fired him in 2019 for criticizing the use of hormone therapy and gender reassignment surgery in children, which I have to imagine will only set the stage for similar lawsuits in the future. People, once again, very recently observed the insanity of two trans-identified males being finalists for the Women's Pro Pool Series in early April in the UK. Yes, not a woman in sight, and of course, the internet exploded over this. Anyway, the point here is that through all these examples, we can see that things are absolutely changing. And as we culturally shift away from the aggressive normalization of gender ideology, more and more people obviously are feeling more comfortable expressing what they actually think. That this is not okay. And honestly, to see, particularly with relation to children,
I hope it keeps moving like that in this way, this direction.
With this one issue is honestly really heartening. I do believe, and I continue to believe, that it was absolutely absurd that a bunch of judges had to rule in the first place that women are biological females and entitled to our own spaces. But given how the last decade or so has gone, I'm glad that this has once again been established. Even if they're doing it for votes down the line, I'm also glad to see more politicians speaking up and speaking out about this. And I'm also so glad to see more and more young women stand up for themselves in the face of overwhelming odds. Ultimately, I'm not so sure that I can wrap up this topic with a neat little bow, but what I can tell you is that this is only the beginning. This is not the end. We are going to see more and more and more pushback as time wears on, as people get more and more and more sick of this. This is only
I hope so. I hope so, for real.
We will all be here with our
We are so sick of all of this.
Now, on
so
that
sick.
note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder: check out Lumen using the link in the description or scan in QR code on screen. I genuinely love my Lumen. I actually use it. So if this is something that you are interested in, definitely check it out and have fun being a healthy person. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all
really
think?
sees a good
Are you
product.
on my side of this issue where
Check
you find
that out,
a lot
those
of the
who want.
blowback to be quite cathartic? Are you on the other side of the issue where you think that it's mean-spirited and kind of unkind to react like this? Do you think that it's absurd that we had to have judges rule on this biological women thing in the UK? Do you think that it's fair? Do you think that it's unfair? Do you think that this entire thing continues to be blown out of proportion and it's not that big of a deal in the first place? What do you think of the politicians who are now backtracking on their own voting records and the things that they've said previously? Do you think that it's right? Do you think that it's wrong? And what do you generally make of this issue overall?
I think that it's dangerous that judges need to decide these things for a society. I mean, this time they took the decision right, but they are taking in the few last years many really bad decisions and complicating everyone's lives in general. Not only that, but also politicians are making terrible laws for making our lives even harder and harder. Every day, every single day. But before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank you all, my patrons that support my work here on YouTube. And especially my Three-Tailed Fox tier members, Heath Rowell and Fenny Sylvy, for the incredible support to my work. You guys are amazing. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon, link is in the description below. So, yeah, I think it's very hard to wake up every day and know that just something might just change the entire society because some group of judges decided that. I mean, it's really strange. But yeah, at least this time was for a good decision. But I am the only one that find this so weird. That they have so much power over our lives. Like that? All the time, every day. I don't know. I think people need to start to think about this. I think it's more than time to people start to think about this stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm saying stupid things. I would like you guys to answer. Let me know in the comments if what I'm saying is stupid, if I'm going crazy, or it's just a feeling that I have alone. I don't know. I just have been thinking this a lot nowadays. Maybe because, oh my god, I'm yapping about my country, and maybe because the situation that my country is inserted is make me think like this. But yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my links below. Patreon, Discord, and Discord server. Consider becoming a Patreon member. That helps me a lot. Even though I'm monetized, I still cannot have access to my monetization for some few reasons. A problem regarding specifically in my country. So yeah, looks like I still have a long way to go until I can receive this money. So help me on Patreon, or I mean, not even YouTube membership gonna help because I cannot access this money too. Patreon would be better. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for having me. Bye bye.